Hello YouTube, Smart Night Brave here, and we are here with a deck profile of my Fire Pyros deck. This deck is decently good. It's really into burning. Now, there is one thing about this deck. It does not always win. But I don't know any deck that doesn't always win anyway. I've not been really using this one for a while, but I'm gonna get right into this deck profile. First one we have here is a Baki. Basically, when he's destroyed by a battle, he inflicts. Could really be useful when your opponent is down to like 500 or less attack points. If you have 500 attack or less, you can end it in a draw by using a Baki. Unless someone has the ability to pierce, because basically what you would do, well, in my thought process, is just set it. Even though it has low defense, this thing really can burn both of you, so it's kind of a double-edged sword in this way. So, anyways, next we have two Achicha archers. Basically, when it is normal summoned or flip summoned, it will inflict 500. Now, this is really, these two Achicha Archer really could be dirty against those Ghost Tricks. That's why I have this in here. Basically, I would summon it, inflict 500, and still have fun. And so yeah, two of those. Fencing Fire Ferret is next. Basically, when the card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, in any way, I can target one face-up monster my opponent controls and destroy it. So basically, not only does this card inflict 500 to my opponent, it also takes a monster with it. The only thing that wouldn't be taken down is those that cannot be affected by destroyed by card effects. Then we have two Fire Princesses. Every time I gain life points, my opponent loses 500. So, two of those. Next, we have Fire Sorcerer. When it's flipped, I can remove two cards randomly from my hand and inflict 800 to my opponent's life points. Next, to Fire Troopers. When Fire Trooper is summoned, I have the option of sending it to the graveyard and inflicting 1000. Really good card for when you attack. When you have a really good disposable burner. So next we have two Flame Spirit Ignises. Basically, he will recycle monsters. I contribute one face-up fire monster to inflict 100 damage to my opponent for each fire monster in the graveyard. So essentially, I have tons of fire monsters here. Everything in this deck is fire, practically. There's only two exceptions, and I'll get into what those two are. Next, Anvil Find. When it is inflicted, I get to inflict battle damage, 200 battle damage, or 200 damage to my opponent or each pyro monster in the graveyard. That's quite a lot, actually, for most. Then we have 2 flare resonators. These are pretty decent, actually pretty decent tuners. The synchro monster that if this is used as a synchro material, basically the synchro monster would gain 300 attack. So next, Lava Golem. This thing can be fun. You can basically what happens is I would special summon that in defense mode on my opponent's side, and every turn my opponent takes 1,000. But thing is, if he decides to be a little smart boy and creature swaps, this thing could be backfiring on yourself. So next we have 2 Laval Magma Cannoneers. Basically, up to twice per turn I can send 1 fire monster from my hand to the graveyard to inflict 500. So that's 1,000 per turn plus for damage. So but thing is, I need a fire monster in hand to do that. So luckily I have tons of fire monsters. Next we have 2 Phoenician Seed Cluster Amaryllis. This thing cannot be special summoned except for its own effect or Phoenician Seed. When the card attacks, if the card attack, it is destroyed after the damage calculation. If the card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, I can inflict damage to my opponent. During my end phase, I can remove from play a plant type and bring it back. So essentially, you have this in hand, which is Phoenician Seed, which is next in the deck. I can basically send this card when it's summoned to the graveyard and special summon him. So that's a freebie. That's free in. And say I attack, it's destroyed. My opponent takes 800. I can end phase happens. I can banish this and bring back a Mariellis. That is pretty bad. A pretty strategic skill, if I do say so myself. Now, these 2 are one of the most fun cards you would have in the deck. If the this card can attack your opponent directly, if it inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, it gains 1,000. Essentially, you can just keep attacking directly, and it will keep gaining 1,000 life points. So this thing is really killer. Next, we have 2 Rigorous Reavers. Main reason why I have it in this deck is because it's a plant type, but there's also the fact that each player would be destroyed when each player would discard a card, and the monster that destroys this